Um, I hope everyone are aware of e-learning courses. We all would have gone through a lot of e-learning courses in your time period. So there are multiple e-learning courses today, which is on online, and they fulfill a lot of different needs. If you say e-learning courses are built up for K-12, that is school educations plus undergraduations, engineering, even scholars, PhD scholars, they have e-learning courses which are built up, and even for if you see IIMs, IITs, people who work at NASA, everyone are engaged with e-learning courses. The best thing with e-learning courses is it is available anytime, anywhere. So that is the most important advantage of e-learning courses. Yes, the principal said e-learning courses in India is difficult because we have a lot of technology difficulties. The students who are studying in your institutions, not everyone can access e-learning courses from their doorstep. So they need to have technology available at their home. So due to this particular what to say this particular constraint, it's getting difficult in India. But I'm sure the 3G and 4G connections which we have already taken with us or subscribed with us will help us to get connected to e-learning courses online. I'm sure a lot of you have connected to this session through your mobile phones, through Google Hangout, with the 4G connectivity available to you. I'm sure there will be a lot more 4G connectivities available to each and every corner of this India very soon. So at that time, these e-learning courses also would be available everywhere. Yes, today to adapt to e-learning courses, it is difficult because we need to apply the hybrid learning principle here, that is called as blended learning. So we just not can't give them an online module. We need to give them a module with instructor approach. So in this approach, what happens is students will read through the online learning module, and then they will post their queries, and the instructors can respond to them, or they can go live, they can show them the illustrations, or they can show them the solutions online. If the hybrid learning, they can come to the classroom, and then they can sit with the instructor, and then they can understand the principles. So these are the principles we can apply. But for sure, it is going to reduce a lot of burden for everyone working for any educational institutions, because e-learning courses are supposed to be replacing human being to an extent, because you no need to talk the same thing again and again and again to talk to different crowd or different set of audience. You can just record it and then put it online so that people would be able to go through it multiple times, and you can duplicate your effort. So this is the best advantage of e-learning courses. To jump into the session, so today what we are going to look after is we are going to look after how to design effective e-learning courses, because the bigger challenge on in e-learning courses is it has to be engaging as an instructor. I know in classroom training, it's easy to engage, or it's easy to connect to people or students or participants because they are face to face. But when you are online, it's very difficult. There are multiple things which will distract the student, or which will not allow students to focus on the e-learning courses. So at this situation, what we need to do is we need to do we need to follow certain principles to develop e-learning courses. In my previous sessions with various institutions, I was talking about instructional designing in e-learning courses. I know instructional designing is very important, but it's a very deep topic and it's a very broad subject. But out of which designing an effective e-learning course is a small snippet. So here what you can do is you can actually take this ready-made recipe and start working towards your e-learning courses from tomorrow onwards. So that's the reason I have actually reframed the course after going through a lot of comments, a lot of feedbacks received from my previous participants. So in this session, what we're going to look after is what is an e-learning course. So an e-learning course is something which is going to address our audience on various topics. So how an e-learning course can be designed with a lot of engagements, a lot of creativity. So we have multiple principles, but the basic 5 things which you can follow, 5 components which you can use to build up an effective e-learning course. If you don't follow, if we don't follow these 5 components or use these 5 components in our e-learning course, our e-learning course would not have that much engagement, and people and students would not be able to follow your courses. The thing is, any e-learning course have to be very short and sweet. If you have a long session and if you have a very long session, students would not be able to focus it, because that's the reason every there is a time period which has been put in even in the classroom trainings. So you cannot have a classroom session more than an hour or 45 minutes, because if you have an hours if your days built split on a period, so you have 1 hour period, you would not be able to use this 1 hour for a lecture. So you can maximum talk to them for 30 minutes where students can focus. So the rest 15-20 minutes would go on various other activities. So students or any participants or any learners can only focus on certain subject not more than 30 minutes in classroom, but on online learning they won't be able to concentrate more than 20 minutes. If you're putting up a topic, so your topic has to be constrained with maximum 20 minutes, so that the students can focus, and then students can follow your course. If you have an 1 hour long module, then it is going to be very difficult. So put them a milestone for every 20 minutes. Every 20 minutes put up a topic or put up a lesson plan, so that it would be easy for students to follow through. Yeah. So there are 5 components which we can use to build up an effective e-learning course, which is you need to know the audience, and you need to structure the course according to the audience needs. Then the page design. So what do you mean by page design? So every page have to have some or other components on a visual component, or maybe an audio component, or a video component, or a graphical representation, or an infographical representation. You need to have certain things in every page, so that the students would be able to follow through your module. So or else it's going to be very difficult for them to understand what you're saying. So that's most important thing. So you need to have a proper page design. So content engagement. Again, as I said, you need to have content engagement. You cannot just fill a page with a lot of text. So you need to fill a page with a lot of information on pictorial representations. So like you can put up instead of sharing an Excel sheet, you can share a chart. You can share a what do you say a video. You can share an audio snippet, or a podcast, or a video blog. So certain things you need to share it on every page, or mostly you have to use it as a content engagement, so that the students or the learners would be able to follow through your module with a lot of what interactivity. Yeah. So then the usability is like so today I have a PPT presentation in front of you. So this is a slideshow which is running. So when the slideshow is running, I need to make sure the slideshow is very smooth. So you should not face any technical difficulties when I'm running the slideshow, because As long as the slideshow goes smooth, so you all participants would be following through, or you would be connected with me. Suppose in between, if there is a technical difficulty, if my mic goes off, or my screen goes off, or my presentation goes off, so there would be a disconnect. Once a disconnect happens with any thing which we are following, it will take at least 10 to 15 minutes for us to come back and then connect with the same module again. Psychological study says if you are focusing on certain subject, you need to focus on, the more you focus on, the more faster you would absorb the things. If there is any technical difficulty, and if there because of this technical glitch, if the session gets disconnected, if you have to join again, if you are joining again, then it will take minimum 10 minutes for you to connect with the session, and then start absorbing the session. It will take at least 10 minutes for you. So that's the reason you need to make sure that any technical difficulties have to be sorted out when you are putting up an online learning courses. That's the reason I said in the beginning, please mute off your mic, and please mute off your camera, or don't make yourself a presenter. So when you make yourself presenter, I don't know who is presenting the screen by this particular moment, because my both the screens are filled with the PPTs and my resources. Then someone have to tell me, maybe the organizer have to tell me, Raj, your screen is off because somebody has taken the presenter control. Then I need to go back and then change myself as a presenter. This will take at least 2 to 3 minutes. In this 2 to 3 minutes, there are a lot many things in the world will distract you all participants, so that you would lose the focus on the course. Then again, to get you all into the course and focus into the course, it will take at least 5 to 10 minutes for me. So that's the reason all these technical difficulties have to be addressed. I'm sure, because the Google Hangout is a very fantastic tool, but it has one big thing is everyone can talk, or everyone can take the mic control, or everyone take the presenter control. So due to this particular problem, there is a lot of disturbance happening behind us. So to control this, I need to address it in the beginning. So the same you need to do. You need to put up a navigation, how to navigate the course, or what you should do, or do's and don'ts in the course. So you need to put up in the first slide of your e-learning module, so that the learners will be able to follow your instructions. Yeah. So in this particular webinar session, we are going to go through this following 5 components of building up an effective e-learning course. The first thing is audience. So you need to design your course keeping your audience in your mind. The second thing, very important component is course structure. So you need to structure your course in a way it has to go through a lesson process. So we all know the college syllabus has its own way of curriculums, right? So you won't put up an expert topic on the first year, first semester. So you will put it in the third year, third semester. The same happens in schools. So you won't put up ABCD and class 10, or the theorems in the class 1. So you need to make up a lesson plan, a process. So what I mean to say is, you have to start with the basic and take it to the end. Don't put up the straight forward subject in the first topic itself. That is going to be very difficult for the learners or the participants of your e-learning module. So you need to structure your course in a way. So you need to take it from the introduction to the expert topic. Then it comes page design. So what is page design? So your page design has to be well organized, and it has to be simple and clean and crisp. If you see the slides, I'm on 5th slide now. That is to be on count 4th slide now. So what happens is, all these 4 slides, I have used the same font, mostly the same font style, font size, and also I try to have a lot of white space and less information. The text is very less, and I have highlighted the important topics. So what happens here is you would be able to follow my information, follow my thoughts very easily. So what I have to do is, when I build up an e-learning course, I have to sit and I have to think, how am I going to share my thoughts to my participants? So with that creativity, I need to build up an e-learning module. If I have not thought about it, I won't be able to put up such a organized slide in front of you. Otherwise, it would be a very lame and very basic slide wherein there will be a lot of text and we all would be wondering, what am I talking about? So that is the reason the page has to be well organized and well designed, and it has to be simple also. If it is not simple, then it will create a lot of complication within your e-learning module. Then there should be content engagement. So content engagement is the most important and the vital part in an e-learning module. So in on-site training, there is someone who can engage the participants, that is yourself. So we would be in front of them, we would be talking, we would be expressing, we would have a lot of emotions in our face, and we can draw something on the board, or we can play something on the TV. There are a lot many things that we can do when we are doing it on site training. But when it comes to online training, it is very difficult. You need to do everything. You need to include whatever I have told, like talking, expressing emotions, the video or the pictures which we are going to draw on the board. So everything we need to put it on the e-learning module. So that is the reason it is very, very important to have a lot of content engagement objects on your e-learning module. So for example, here in this same slide which you are looking at, so every point has been related with some or other icons. If you see audience, I have put up an icon with human silhouettes, and when you go to course structure, I have put a notebook kind of icon. When you see the page design, I have shown a page with a lot of components in it, like a star and a line. So it talks about page design. So content engagement, when you talk about content engagement, I have included an image icon there, or content icon there. The usability. So when it comes to the usability, so that's what we were discussing. The usability is, your e-learning model has to be smooth enough to navigate through. So like you cannot jump. You have to be. It has to be sequential, and it has to be smooth enough. So one topic to next topic, it has to transition has to happen in a very smooth way, so that the learner's understanding, or the learner's way of thoughts should not be broken up. What I mean is, when you take up a learner from one topic to the next topic, you need to make sure that the learner has understood this particular topic, and there is no need for him to come back and then shuffle through the information. Because what happens is, now I am on first page, I go to the second page, then I go to the fourth page, or third page, and then fourth page. Now I am on the fourth page. I have already gone through 1, 2, 3. So 3 pages I have gone through, and then I have moved to fourth page. Now when I am on fourth page, I suddenly get some doubt. Then I jump to first page. Then I read through all this first page. Then from first page again I jump to fourth page. Now what happens is, the lot of shuffles happen in my mind. The brain would not be able to relate to what I am looking after right now. So what happens is, now I am on the fourth page, but I am thinking on first page. So I won't be able to focus the content which is on the fourth page. So we need to make sure the transition from first page to fourth page has to happen in a proper way. So how it happens is, I need to make sure I put up the first page, second page, and third page. If these 3 pages have some crucial identical information, then I put one page in front of fourth page, in between fourth page. What I would say is, put up a knowledge check question. There, put up the important points which the students may come across in the future. When you put that, then the students would be answered. So if the student answers it, then take them to fourth slide. or else take them to first slide, ask them to go through the module again. So with this practice, what happens is the students will run through the course again, and they will make sure this first 3 pages are done. Then they'll move on to the 4th page. With this, there won't be a lot of shuffles, and with this, there would be there would be a smooth transition. So this is what we have been doing in books, classroom training also. So when we were in schools or colleges, what happens is every subject will have a book back exercise, and then we will finish the book back exercise and then move on to the next lesson. So with this, there is no need for us to go back to the first lesson immediately. We need to do it as a revision later part, but there is no need to shuffle through first from the second lesson to first lesson. So this is very, very important. So the usability is, make sure there is no technical glitches, every slide is going through properly, and there is a smooth transition between from one topic to another topic. So all these things we need to understand. So about the usability, we will deeply dive, and then we would see what are all other things that we need to take care about. So in this webinar, we are going to go through this 5 important components in a elaborated manner. So here we need to do an audience analysis. So how do you do an audience analysis? So, and what is audience analysis? As we said, design the course with your audience in your mind. So you need to design your course with your audience in your mind. You cannot just design an expert level course to an for a first year student. So because he is just a first year, and he is just an entry level person for that particular topic at this moment. So you cannot talk to him about expert things, expert level information, so that he won't be able to follow you. The same goes to the experts also. When you go to an expert level person and then talk to him about a basic level information, he won't be able to see value in your course. So audience have to relate it to them and see value for them in your e-learning module. Then it becomes a successful module. Yeah. So there is an important thing before you begin your building exercise of any e-learning modules. You need to make sure that the audience analysis is done. So how do you do your audience analysis? So there are 3 important questions that you need to answer. One is, what are your learners' desired outcomes, and what are the course prerequisites, and what is the learning environment? So what are your learners' desired outcomes? You need to see what my audience is thinking, and what is he thinking, and what does he want to know about this particular subject after he finishes this module. So what is the summary? So what is the outcome of my e-learning module to this particular audience? And if I am building up one learning module on any accounts principles, so if you see, you take a basic accounts principles, and then if you're building up an e-learning module for your learners, you need to see what level of learners am I talking to, or what level of learners am I focusing on. So what do they want to know from my e-learning module? So you need to focus on that particular subject. Then what are the course prerequisites? Here you need to put up the course prerequisites. If it is an expert level module, you need to tell them, boss, you need to know certain things so that you can take up this course. If not, this is going to be difficult. Please go through those modules and then come back to this module. For an example, if you are building up an e-learning module on machine learning, and if you are opening it up to everyone, it is going to be difficult for the audience to, or the participants to, follow through your course. The second thing is, your e-learning module would be a failure. Instead, what we need to do is, you need to open up the courses only to people who know Python programming. So you have already done Python programming, then no problem, go through machine learning. If you already know what is R, then you go to data analysis. So if you don't know certain programmings or certain platforms, then there is no need for you to take this course first. You need to finish off the Python programming and come back to this course. So this is what we need to make sure to mention in the prerequisites. We all do this in our college admissions. So if somebody have to do the MBA, then they have to they should have finished some or other undergraduate programs, because the MBA is a little bit advanced topic. So students who are directly passed out from higher secondary school would not be able to follow through what they talk in MBA. First, they need to know what is a business, then they need to know what is a company, and they need to know how a company is formed, and what is a company act, what is a corporate secretaryship. So everything they need to understand in the their undergraduation, and they would be moved to MBA programming. MBA program. So if I am doing an MBA program in HR, and if I am a guy who has done only BSc computer science in my undergraduation, then you need to make sure that undergraduate student from computer science knows a basic about the company act or the company principles, or what is the organizational principles. So you need to keep a subject in the first semester so that they know the business completely from the basic level. Then you take them to the expert level from third semester onwards. So this is what we do when we prepare a curriculum for MBA. So that's how you need to mention your prerequisites. And what is the learning environment? So now I need to choose which learning environment am I going to adapt, so that I can distribute my learning modules to the my audience. So there are multiple learning environment. We are now using Google Hangout. There is another channel called Zoom. There are a lot many online WebEx sessions, WebEx services available. Now we need to choose, or else I can also put it on an LMS, or I can deliver it through as a self-packaged file or a zip packaged file, or I can put it on an LMS. So now I need to know which learning environment am I going to use. Based on that, I need to build up the course. I can't build a course, I can't build this PPT and then put it on an LMS, because PPT on an LMS would have no use. A SCORM based module have to build, then I can put it on LMS. The main advantage in LMS is tracking the progress of your students. So if I put up a PPT module on an LMS, that is not going to track the progress. I have to put up a SCORM module. So the SCORM module will start absorbing all the progress details from my students' remote desktop, and then it will share it to the LMS server, and the LMS server will create a dashboard and then give me the progress of the student. So this is very important. So you need to choose the learning environment before you build up your e-learning module. So now comes course structure. There are a lot of things that we have to follow when you build up your course structure. Sorry, there is a small alignment issue due to the system issues. So I would fix up this alignment issue, and before I share the PDF document with you. So now I will take you through the topics. So avoid creating long modules. As I said, you cannot create a module. You should not create a module which is more than 20 minutes. If you create a module, if it is more than 20 minutes, it is going to disturb the audience, and then it is going to they will lose the focus. Then use a lot of graphics in your module. So any idea, anything that you want to say, any quotation that you want to say, you start using graphics. Put up a graphical representation of your content, so that it will be a graphical representation is easy for a student to follow than a text-based representation. And use something which is interactive. So today we are on Google Hangouts. The interactivity is very less in this kind of channels, but when you put up on an LMS, the interactivity is more. So you can ask the students to participate with you. That is going to create some momentum. So that momentum will make sure the students are engaged with your e-learning modules. For example, whenever I go for seminars or presentation to any institutions, I love to be very engaged. So I want to interact with people. So I make people interact with me so that I will understand them, I will know them better. So based on that understanding, or based on my information about them, so it would help me to accommodate my content according to their what to say, their understanding or their frequency. This is what I do. But today, because we are on Google Hangout, I don't have an option to engage with you, I don't have an option to interact with you. But there are a lot of online channels where you can engage with your people. So start doing that. So when you do that, it is going to be very easy. Even now I can engage with you, but you can put up on a message text box or chat box, wherein it's very difficult, or it's practically very difficult for me to go through each and every chat message and then respond to you. Then what happens here is, one audience or one participant would not know what is happening at the other end. So there will be a lot of distractions. That's the reason I can't do an interactive learning at this particular moment. But what you can do is, you can build up an interactive module. You can put up a knowledge check session or a pre module test, so that you can know your learners better, and then you can interact with them over the LMS or over a forum, and then you can talk to them over there, and then you can understand more about the students, and you can modify your modules according to their understandings. So this is very, very important. So you have to build up your course structure with these three things in mind. So when you have to put these three things in mind, there is most important thing that you need to do is, you need to write a storyboard before you build up an e-learning module, because you cannot go and sit in front of your computer and think about what am I going to do. So first you need to write up a storyboard, and then you need to put up all these principles on your storyboard. Then you can start working on your e-learning module. So I will show you a sample storyboard at end of the session. So you have to put up a good page design, so that your students or your participants would be able to stick with your content. If your design is not that great, so the students or participants would get distracted from your e-learning module, and they would not be able to follow what you are saying. So in this particular page, you would see there are 4 important things which we need to follow. The 4 important best practices that you need to follow to build up a proper page design. So one is, use a template. So your course should have a proper template. You should not put different design slides in a same module. So if you see in this particular PPT slide, I have followed a template, the colors, the fonts, the slide size, and the font size. So everything, if you see the subtitle. Now if you see in this slide, page design, so in this slide, if you see page design is a title, then you see your pages should be clear. The second, the subtitle, and the infographical representation. So every slide, if you go, the title will have the same font and same font size, and the subtitle will have the same font and same font size. So this is how it has been designed. So you need to have a template before you build up any e-learning module, and you have to balance the graph and text. You cannot just put up all the graphical representation, and you cannot avoid all the text. You have to balance it. You need to have a proper mixture of graph and text. So that's when participants can relate the graphical with the text and the text with the graphics. So this is very, very important. And you need to have a simple navigation. Simple navigation. You should not have a lot of complicated navigation. That's what I said. You should not go to the next slide and then go back to the first slide and go back to the third slide. You should not do that complicated navigation. When you see user experience principles, there are a lot many things which are put, and the main important thing is it has to be simple. It has to be very basic. So it would be easy for the participant to navigate through your course. and make the course very simple and very lame, so that even a layman can follow it. So that is very, very important. Don't talk jargons or don't talk industry jargons to them, they won't be able to understand. So keep it very simple. Put up the, if there is an acronym that have to be added, you put up the complete abbreviation next to that acronym. So that is very, very important. Next is content engagement elements. There are main important 4 content engagement elements that you can use to have an effective e-learning module. That is interactive graphics. Again, we have spoken about graphics. Now you need to have interactive graphics, like click this to know more, click this particular object to know about it. So you need to have interactive graphics. Next is hyperlinks. So you have to add a lot of resources. You have to share a lot of resources like PDF documents or video blogs or an article. So you have to share resources recording to your module to the participants. So when you do it, you add it as a hyperlink. When they click on it, it will take them to the web page. So that is very, very important. They would know more information about the topic. So you can share the references as a hyperlink. And add quizzes and assessments. You, in between your module, you add knowledge check quizzes, so that you would know, are they following you, or they are able to understand your module, so that you can evaluate your module. So once you evaluate your module, you can evolve it in the future by modifying your course modules. So assessment is the end, so where you can put up an assessment so that the complete course can be assessed for the students, and then you can ask them to see their results, and then you can give them share the feedback with them. So where do they have to improve? So all these things you need to do with quizzes and assessments. And gamify your content. Include some game-based principles. If any of you have played games on your mobiles like Candy Crush or any games, you would know the levels, right? So level 1, level 2, level 3, and getting that star, getting the gold coin, something. So add that kind of principles when it comes to your e-learning modules. What happens is, this will put a lot of motivation with your participants, and there will be a healthy competition between the other participants. So your module would have a lot of interaction, and it would help the students to understand your information in a better way. So as I said, usability is very, very important. So we need to avoid the technical mess or technical issues which they are going to face when they use your module. So that is very, very important. So check for technical issues, like what I have not checked now, and check for the syntax and grammar. So I have not checked for the alignments. So now you see there are a lot of alignment issues on my PPT. With this, the module would lose the focus. So make sure before you go live, you check for technical issues, check for the syntax, check for the grammars. You should not have a grammatical error, or you should not have a spell error or typo errors on your e-learning module. So check this before you release your e-learning modules. So there are multiple authoring tools that you can use. So I have shared a couple of paid tools in my previous sessions, but I received a lot of feedbacks from participants asking for open learning, open source authoring tools. So these are the 4 open source authoring tools, which are easy to use. The first one is Open Learning. It's an individual or a standalone software. CoursePath is again a open source learning, but it is free for 30 days, first 30 days, and after that you need to pay for it. H5P is actually free, but it is a web version tool. You should have a web version server like a Moodle or a WordPress server or a Blackboard server to use this H5P. CourseLab is again a tool which is a standalone tool, but it's not that user friendly. Open Learning is better. You may try for it. I will share the links on this 4 tools, so you can assess it in future. Yeah. So now it's the time to show you a couple of sample storyboards. So here is the storyboard. See, someone want to present it, so I'm just taking back the presentation control. Yeah. Um, so this is actually a sample storyboard which we have to show it to you. This is a template which we used for one of our prime online learning provider. So if you see, you should have a project name and a project start date, and here is the instructions to the e-learning developer. Normally, an e-learning module is developed in a mode like an instructional designer will write a storyboard, and a graphic developer will develop the course, and a technical team will host it on the LMS. This is how it happens. Here, a storyboard has been developed by an instructional designer. They give the instructions to the graphic developer. Like this is the short one. It has to be 4-second duration, and the scene name is introduction on the institution. So video opens with digital marketing book cover to the someone called economic study as a participant. Please refrain from clicking on presenting screen because I'm losing the presentation control. Thank you. So here if you see, short explains the background of the institution, and you can the resources. You can use the images in the so-and-so folder like term 1 images and logos. This one you can use it from that folder. So this is what you need to give. If you don't give this, then it is very difficult for a graphical developer to design it. So for you also, before you build up any e-learning module, go for a storyboard template like this. Take each and every shot, and then you yourself instruct yourself, and then you write an instruction so that when you build up the e-learning module, it will be easy for you to construct the course, and you can actually keep all the media ready like the pictures or the videos or the reference documents, everything ready, and you can put it under the resources space. So with this, it will be easy for you to build up the e-learning module. Yeah. So I'm going to show you another storyboard which we have developed for NARD. So NARD, I don't have any constraint because NARD is a central government project. So this is available across India, free for distribution. So I don't have a problem. I don't have an NDA sign. So I'm sharing their storyboard with you. So if you see here, there are 3 blocks here. One is the graphical block. Second is the graphical description block to the graphical developer, and the third is a voiceover text. Yeah. So this is the audio transcript that has to be used. So now what we need to say is, here this is how the background should be, and this is the logo you should use, and this is the title of the slide. So welcome to the module on salient features of Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act. So this is the slide text, and these are the images that you can use, and this may be the Shutterstock image, and this is the number of the Shutterstock image. So everything is given here. So now the graphical developer, he doesn't have any problem in developing this particular slide, and it has been given here. Show the image in the background. Sorry, I cannot zoom this particular text, but I'm trying to show it on the top of the screen. So graphical description is show the image in the background and display the on-screen text along with voiceover, embed background music globally, and show a start button. So these are the graphical description which has been given, and the narrator who is going to give the voiceover should talk through this particular voiceover transcript. Welcome to the module on salient features of Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act, PESA Act 1996. Click the start button to launch the course, and this is the voiceover. So if you see, there are 61 slides we have developed the same way, and every slide has its own way of representation. This is assessments, and this is actually a graphical slide. So I will take you through this published version so that it will be easy for you to relate it. So now you have seen the storyboard. Now I will show you the live module. Yeah. So this is the published module.
पंचायतों का
I'm
अधिसूचित
sure you are
क्षेत्र
able to
अधिनियम
listen to the
PESA
audio
1996 के विस्तार की
of this.
प्रमुख
This is a Hindi
विशेषताओं के
transcribed
मॉड्यूल में
version.
स्वागत है।
And you see, it has been moved. It is jumping it from one screen to another screen. Yeah.
73वें संविधान संशोधन
So
अधिनियम
we have
1993
followed
अधिनियमित होने के
the
साथ और
instruction given by
पंचायती
the
राज
instructional
संस्थानों
designer,
की
and we
स्थापना
have
के
developed
साथ
this
ही
module.
भारत में
And then
लोकतांत्रिक
these are the graphics which were
विकेंद्रीकरण को
used based on
संवैधानिक
their
दर्जा प्राप्त हुआ।
inputs, right?
इस संवैधानिक संशोधन के प्रावधानों की
Okay.
तरह
So
भारत के
and
संविधान का
this
अनुच्छेद
can be
243
developed
जी के
by
अंतर्गत
anyone,
राज्य
but the only
विधानमंडल
important thing is you need to
पंचायतों
have
को
you need to
ऐसे
make sure
अधिकार
that
एवं शक्ति से संपन्न
the
करता है
storyboard is
जो
perfect.
स्वशासन के
And before you build, if you start building up any module, you have to have a proper storyboard. So that is going to help you. Yes, there are a lot of participants who are asking for the links of the open source modules. Yes, for sure, I will share it with you after the session. And if you have any doubts, you can ask me now. So I'm done with it. So you can contact us on learn@zillion-cubes.com so that we would be able to share the information. Yeah. And I will also leave the information about the open source tools with Dr. Deepthi. You can also reach out to her.